What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
Like, we were for the Pelicans. Like, we're in Louisiana. We're going to talk about the Pelicans, obviously. But my God, how depressing. I mean, between the Saints and the Pelicans right now, and now LSU is a much better team, but them losing going into the bye week, we got to get some juice into Louisiana sports.
Bruh.
We need a lightning bolt of energy right now.
So what is it?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you had one.
No, I don't. I wish I did. And then you got this Bryce Underwood stuff.
8 points from the Saints?
No. And 2 of them came because of a horrendous snap by the Chargers deep snapper. You got one job, fella. One job. I hope it gets better because, listen, we can't go a full football season with this being the only thing. Talking about the Saints, and my God, does it feel like it's going to be all football season. Like, guys, they hadn't won since Moby Dick was a minnow. And it doesn't look like they are going to, even like this weekend, they're favorites by a touchdown. Like, the hell? That team is favored by a touchdown over anybody?
Yeah.
They're going on the road to Carolina. What do you say about the Panthers? They're awful. They fight. They got a little, a little grit to them. Now, that grit doesn't turn into wins because they don't have talent, but you lose to the Panthers.
And look, I think the possibility is pretty high.
Ain't great.
It looks like they're going to actually roll with Bryce Young.
Well, actually, that's good.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. If Andy Dalton was playing in this game, I would feel a lot less confident about it. With Bryce Young in there, no, I mean, the Saints have to win this game. I mean, Jake, you look at the Panthers when Bryce Young's playing, like, they don't call the same plays for when Andy Dalton's in there. Like, they don't trust him to do anything. They will not throw the ball downfield. They're not going to call a bunch of creative plays. Like, they don't trust him to do anything.
He was so good in college. And you could sit here and be like, well, look, a lot of these guys are really good in college. They don't work out in the NFL. Sure, for sure. I know that. I've been around this thing long enough. But that was a Heisman Trophy winner who, sure, he was undersized, but let's not act like he didn't have things that, every team was looking for. Like, he did not feel like he was going to be this just giant bust of a player. Like, it is so bad that I do agree with you, Tay. Like, they change who they are, what they're doing, and they are like spoon feeding him like this basic offense. Like, the thing you always heard about him at Alabama was how much he could handle in his football IQ, and it showed. That's bad. It's bad. And it's actually good for the Saints that he's going to play, but normal conversations, we would come here and we'd be like, hey, you lose to the Panthers, you're done. You're done. Dennis wouldn't coach another game. I think the thing that makes it so miserable is the fact that they have a chance of losing to the Panthers, and there's not a damn thing that's going to happen after or because of it. Like, that's the like infuriating, frustrating, just what are we doing? What are we watching? That's the portion that I just can't get over.
Yeah, because you were talking like it has to be it if they lose to the Panthers. Like, I think if they lose to the Panthers, you move on from Dennis Allen. Like, in the post-game press conference, just go ahead and cut ties then. But honestly, Jake, you look back at what this ownership group, what this front office group has done in the past. I have no confidence that they're going to do that and make the right decision. I mean, why do it now? Why not do it in the offseason? Why not do it? I mean, you've lost 6 games in a row. Is the Panthers really going to change that? It should, but I have no confidence that this front office is going to do the right thing.
And not like, I'm not talking about after the season. Like, think about any NFL franchise. Well, maybe not the Cowboys because, like you said, Tay, I mean, gosh, y'all feel like you're in a bad spot, although you did make the postseason last year. Like, Brandon Staley last year was bad with the Chargers. They made the playoffs the year before that. Like, what'd they do? We fired him in the middle of the year. You were stuck in the mud. You couldn't get out. You don't get stuck in the mud in the NFL. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Right? And if you have a high expectation or even a playoff expectation, which this team did, you go 8-8. Oh, now it's different. But back in the day, and I use this example, like we went 8-8 in San Diego after going 13-3. I'm like, all right, North, get one more.
All right, North.
And he went 7-9. And they let Coach go. He was 53-40 in his time in San Diego, and they let him go. Dennis Allen ain't 53-40.
And he's never been
And
like
never.
any sort of I don't think he's ever had a winning season ever.
He is not.
No,
And
he's
his-
never had one.
His
Yeah,
best season was
so-
last year.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
7-9,
like,
right?
Yeah. There you go. You just said 7-9 is what he went. He got fired. Like, it makes me very angry that, like, I know he says to look beyond the results, but there's nothing else that, like, I'm going to look at and be like, oh, yeah, Dennis Allen, I can look beyond these losses and be like, oh, okay, sure, there's potential here. But there's nothing about Dennis Allen that, like, one, excites me, two, makes me feel like he has potential for anything, three, like, obviously these players don't like him either. He's throwing all of them under the bus. Like, it makes me so mad.
Right. They can say that, and I don't even know that they are, but I'm saying if they did come out and be like, no, nope, he's our guy. Like the players.
Yeah.
No, he ain't. Like your actions speak so loud, I can't hear a word you're saying.
Yeah.
And how could he be your guy? He throws you under the bus consistently. He doesn't talk about himself and how bad he is. He just talks about how bad you are.
He has no sort of like fire either way. Like,
there's zero juice.
even when they were winning,
Zero juice.
there's like that one video of him being like, sometimes you got to pop out and show him. But even that, like, that didn't even really excite me. And it just, no fire either way. And I don't know how you're supposed to excite any players or any fans even with somebody like Dennis Allen.
Well, and Jake, like going back to your point, let's look at some of the coaches right now
9-8
that like
last year.
you would consider on the hot seat, right? Like Robert Sala's already been fired for underperforming. People are calling for Doug Peterson's head in Jacksonville. He went to the playoffs 2 years ago, and he's won a damn Super Bowl.
Doug Peterson's literally who I had pulled up on my screen here because that was going to be my example. It's not going great for Doug.
Nope.
Okay, but you're right. He won a playoff game 2 years ago. Pushed the Chiefs pretty hard in those playoffs.
Yeah, like
as well.
you could argue they should have won that game.
And he can, look down at his hand and he sees a big fat ring. All right. Now, even that, like, it does feel like, is Doug the guy right now? Do they need to make a move? And this man's won a Super Bowl as a head coach, and we're having those conversations. Dennis Allen couldn't win a Super Bowl in the intramural league. Like, there's nothing to fall back on.
No,
I'm sure you could give some more coaches.
Yeah, the only way Dennis Allen's going to the Super Bowl is if he buys a ticket. Like, go look at
it's
Mike
in the
McCarthy.
Superdome, so maybe they'll give him a free one this year. But yes, to your point,
He doesn't deserve it.
Go look at Mike McCarthy. I get it. He's with Dallas. It's a polarizing franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, every other day we hear about, oh, well, Jerry Jones said this about Mike McCarthy. There's a feud here. Yeah, he's 3-4. The last 3 seasons, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. He also has a Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
This is a guy that's won 62% of his games in 18 years. Dennis Allen doesn't come close to that. And Mike McCarthy's a guy whose head is on the chopping block a little bit. So you have 2 coaches, Peterson and Mike McCarthy, who I think are both really good head coaches that simply because they're probably not going to make the playoffs, they're going to get fired. You're on a 6-game skid, and you're just acting like nothing's wrong.
I was listening to NFL radio last week, and they were talking about Sean McVay being on the hot seat. Now, they won 2 games, I think, in a row since then, but they were like, Sean McVay, 1-4. I think it's time for LA to move on. Dude's done nothing but win there. Like, and I realized the last 2 years, and he's had some years where he's had some injuries, like major. He signed Baker on a Tuesday, had to start him on a Thursday. He's got a Super Bowl to fall back on. Like, that's the wild part. All these conversations that we have about all these coaches right now and teams and franchises that are struggling, outside of some new coaches like Carolina, okay, new coach. We know this, Vegas, new coach, Tennessee, new coach. Every coach that's established and been there, right? If they haven't been fired already, the talk is that they're on the hot seat. Dennis Allen is the one guy across the National Football League that seems to have a hall pass. And he gets to use it consistently. And I just don't understand why. Because you can't look back on the good times because there's not any good times. Not in his entire head coaching career in the NFL.
Go back and look at Kyle Shanahan. I mean, that was the talk in the offseason. Is Kyle Shanahan truly the offensive guru that we thought he was? And this is just because of, some gaffes in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl. They're talking about his performances in 2 bad Super Bowls. And then this year, they've underperformed a little bit. But, I mean, look how many injuries the San Francisco 49ers have had, and they've still overcame it. They're still hovering around 500. So a lot of people are like, oh, well, Mickey Loomis is saying that it's because of injuries. 49ers are overcoming it. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that have injuries. They're not on a 6-game slide. They just won. They've won their last 2 games in a row with virtually nobody. You got Brock Purdy. I mean, Ricky Pearsall was your number 1 outside receiver last week in his NFL debut. I mean, that's how banged up they are at the receiver position. So there's any excuse that you hear from Mickey Loomis, the rest of the league is not making these excuses. And then at the same time, Jake, if you fired Dennis Allen, what decent coach is going to want to come here when you're $72 million over the cap next year?
Sorry, Dennis, you were 9-8 last year. Congratulations. Hang the banner. You had a winning season. Sorry. You were 9-8. Let's make sure we get that out there as you bring your New Orleans record to 18-24, your overall coaching record to 26-52.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.